Alright, so I have here my Maurader pistol, P-Rod. Obviously this is the WoodsWalker version. Right, WoodsWalker. So with the stock, and I took the Crosman stock and I modified it to make it like this, and this is so much better than the original stock. The original stock, how it's made, the length of pull is 16 inches. So that's really long. That's like, I've never shouldered a rifle that had a 16-inch trigger pull. So it was like, it just never, you just never felt right. And also that because the original stock, how it comes out from the bottom here, your grip when you hold it, it's never it never feels, the grip never felt right because of that big bulk right here, and it just it just doesn't feel right at all. I don't know what Crosman was thinking when they originally designed that. But anyways, so this thing is up for sale. This is, of all the guns I've had, I think this is probably, of all the air guns I've had, this is probably my favorite one, or at least the one that I use the most. And that's because it's small and light, real light, real small, real light. And this is the one I use for pesting. I shoot rats with this thing. Rats are nice, and sometimes rattlesnakes with this thing. So obviously I have this stock here modded, so it's a lot, it's a little bit shorter. The length of pull is, let's see, length of pull is 13 inches. So 13-inch length of pull. So that's that's a compact setup, because this is it's a compact gun. It's basically, it's a pistol carbine, right? It's not really a rifle. It's more of a pistol carbine than anything else. The length of it from muzzle to stock is 27 inches. So that would be considered a very small rifle. That would be like a short barrel rifle type situation. And these Maurader pistols, the barrel themselves, I think the barrel is 12 inches, if I can remember right, 12 or 13. It's either 12 or 13 inches, I forget. But anyways, so that's like that length is like a short barrel rifle length, basically. But anyways, this is if you take this off, it becomes a pistol, right? A long barrel pistol. Take the stock off. So other thing I have for the stock, what I did was I put in a little loop here, so that way you could attach a one point harness sling, basically, right? Or not harness, but a 1-point sling right here. So while you're walking around, you don't have to, while you're walking around your property or wherever you're shooting pests and such, you don't have to be holding the barrel the whole time. You just attach your 1-point sling here, and it could just dangle. So that works really well as well. So I like that. It's something that I added on. So let's look at this pistol. It is obviously a Maurader WoodsWalker. I don't have the original WoodsWalker red dot because I think it's garbage. I put in a Bushnell reflex red dot. So this thing it's an automatic on off. There's a little solar sensor here. So when there's light, the red dot will turn on. So when you cover that solar sensor, it turns off. So this is from Bushnell. Right, Bushnell is a trusted brand in optics. All right, so let's look at what this is. It's a Benjamin, obviously 22 caliber, and the WoodsWalker are all 22 calibers. I have a Huma regulator in here. Huma regulator. It's set at 90 bars, and I tried it at several different bars, like 90, 100, 110, and such. And it shoots best at 90 bars because the barrel length, the barrel here is so short that if you set it up any higher, it doesn't. You're wasting air basically because the barrel length is too short for more air. So it gets noisier and waste more air. But also the spring too, the hammer spring in here and the valve spring is, it's matched for each other for, for lower air. If I set the regulator up to like higher bars, it doesn't, it doesn't match, and it actually shoots weaker. Now I do have a heavier hammer spring, but I don't like that because the heavier hammer spring makes it difficult to more difficult to cock the hammer back. There's more resistance. So I like the softer, easier cocking back of the hammer, of the bolt. Cocking the hammer back. So that's why I prefer the lighter hammer spring. So that's Huma regulated, 90 bars with this regulator, 90 bars, and the hammer spring tensioner, and also the striker distance setting I have right now. It is shooting at about 600 foot-pounds per second out of the Crosman Premier hollow point 22 caliber. So this is 14.3 grams. That's what I normally shoot with this gun. So with that, with these pellets, I'm shooting this, at the regulator setting, in auto setting, and where it's tuned, it's shooting at 600 feet per second average. And the standard deviation is really low. The standard deviation is, I think, only 3 or 4. So it's a really tight group. It's very exact. And at my 25 yard to 25 meter range, I'm getting pretty tight groups. And this is what this thing is meant for. It's not. I didn't intend this gun to be more than a 25 yard gun, because obviously I'm using a red dot, and I don't have any magnification, right? So any more than that, and when you're shooting rats and mice, any further than that with no magnification, the target is so small that you're gonna miss. So 25 yards is basically what this thing is set up for. But actually, in reality, I actually don't have it. It's set up for at least with the sight on it here. Anyways, it's not this red dot sight, since you have such a small target, no more than a dime. I don't think it's because there's no magnification. It's not effective beyond 25 yards. I don't think. But I actually have this thing set up for zeroed out at I believe 10 meters. And 10 meters, it's really tight. I mean, I'm not a very good shooter, and I'm not very stable, so my group isn't as tight. But when I put this thing on the bench with the sandbags, it's like, wow, it shoots really well. So that's part due to the Huma regulator, but also part due to the barrel that I have in here. I have a Marmot Militia hammer forged barrel, also known as Wicked Air Rifle. Marmot Militia / Wicked Air Rifle barrel in here. So that's a pretty pricey barrel. It's the barrel was, I think, 160 or 170. Plus shipping and all that stuff is like, it's almost $200. So it's almost a $200 barrel right here. And the Huma regulator was about $120, I think. So I have a Hill air gun valve in here as well. So that was like 100 and something. I forget what it was. Valve and transport and such. So this thing is fully basically the engine of it is fully modified, and so it shoots very very tight groups, very precise groups, and it's quiet too. So it's pretty quiet. Well, right now I have it at 600, and 600 is a little bit noisier. Usually with this setup I have here, if I shoot faster than 550, or if I'm getting into the 550 feet per second range, that's when when the noise starts to be more noticeable. But it's still quiet though. But you go down to like 500 feet per second, man, it's really quiet. It's definitely at 500 feet per second. It's definitely backyard friendly. The hit from the pellet hitting the target will be louder than the gun itself. Let's see what else do I have for this thing. So yeah, so it's a fantastic gun. Like I said, I use this thing more than anything else, just because, you know, pretty much everything else, even though all the bigger stuff I have, the bigger, more powerful guns I have, it's, you know, it's for shooting raccoons, but I actually never shot a raccoon, so never had the opportunity. Never have raccoons coming through here and stuff, but by the time I get out and they scurry it away, and I can't find them anymore. But this thing definitely has plenty of rats and mice and rattlesnakes under its belt, in its notch, basically. So I have this little thing right here that I made for if whatever you do, if the pellet gets jammed or something like that, where you double load, you could, from the muzzle side, you could stick this through and push it out, and that way you don't have to take the gun apart. Otherwise, because if the pellet gets jammed right here or whatever, for whatever reason, if you double load without this thing pushing it out, the only way you get it out is if you actually take this thing apart, and you don't want to do that. That's just too much work. So I've only used this thing when it was newer, when I first got this gun, and I didn't know how to use it properly, load it properly and such. So there's that. So let's see what else do I have for this thing. And obviously it comes with the case, with this case as well. Let's see what I have in here. I got a bunch of magazines. I have 6 magazines. Six of the magazines here. Right, 6 magazines. Oops. So it comes with 6 magazines, and at the tune that it's set right now, it's actually good for all 6 magazines. So by the time you get to the 6th magazine, that's when it drops off the regulator. About halfway through, I think it drops off the regulator of the 6th magazine, of the last magazine, the 6th one. Then it's good for the rest of the magazine, and it still shoots within its tune range. So that's good there. 6 magazines. And got a bunch of other little stuff for it as well, little knickknacks. So here's the old valve. Like I said, I took off the stock valve, and I have a Hill L valve in here in the gun. Got a bunch of stuff here for this gun. So obviously this is the original valve. I have the air, the degasser tool, and obviously with the Huma regulator, you don't want to touch the pressure because it has its own plenum. This right here is a Hill deep pinger. So I got this before I got the regulator to quiet the gun down. This is the depinger, but ever since once you have a regulator, you don't need a depinger because the regulator also acts as a depinger. This is the heavier hammer spring. It's a little bit heavier. So that's all that stuff there. Got some O-rings for the transfer port. Let's see, I got four O-rings for the transfer port. These 2 O-rings here are for. Let me see, what are these 2 O-rings for? I think these 2 might be for the barrel. So I have at least 2 for the barrel in here. I believe that's the barrel. This little screw I have here, that's for the regulator, and actually I have another screw in there for the regulator, but this is just the extra one because when you buy the screw at the hardware store, and it comes in 2s, right? 2s or 3s or whatever it is. It always comes in some goofy number, more than you need. I have a shitload of O-ring to rebuild the gun. So there's at least each of these packs is 2. It's a 2-pack. So there's 4, and I did a rebuild recently, so I wanted to make sure everything was fresh. So there's 5 rebuilds. So you get this would last you pretty much forever, I think, because unless you shoot a lot, unless you shoot like thousands of rounds, every year, then you'll probably do a O-ring rebuild once a year. But I've had this gun for like at least 3 years now, I think, and I've only done that one rebuild just recently too, and it didn't even need it. It didn't even need to rebuild, but I just did it just for the hell of it, just because I want to make sure everything was new and fresh. On top of that, I also have 2 extra rebuild kits for the Huma regulator. So these are new. I just got these things, 2 extra one, and this one is a used one. It's still a few extra O-rings that's left over, and I just also redid this. I rebuilt the Huma regulator as well. So the regulator is probably going to need a rebuild more often than the rest of the gun, I think. Especially the small little O-rings. Those are the one that goes first, those small little ones. Same thing with the on the gun, the barrel itself. There's a little O-ring on the barrel where you load the pellet. So there's that little O-ring right in here. That little one right in there. That's the one that usually goes out first on the gun itself. So anyways, so I got all that extra, right? So that's what you'll be getting. You'll be getting all this extra parts. So I'm selling everything, basically as a whole package. Because obviously, because it all goes together, right? So there's no sense in selling things separately. I don't know why people always ask for, oh, can I get that separate, this and that, whatever. It's like, no, it's a system. It's not just, oh, this and that. It's a whole system that all comes together. It's a complete package. When you buy a car, you don't buy the chassis, and you don't buy the seats separately and stuff. It all comes, the seat and everything comes together as one whole car, right? To be a one complete package. Not you don't build the car single part at a time, unless you're doing a total custom, which I sort of did here, but it's still so that's the whole system there. So you're interested, just give me a message. Just message me, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks for watching.